Hello, and welcome to Conversations with Laurel. I'm your host, and I'm not Laurel. Today we get to flip the tables. I'm Cam Torrens, and Laurel has graciously given up her seat to me so that I can talk to her today about her newest release. Laurel McHargue is an author, a podcaster, a West Point graduate, an adventurer, and her latest release, she's a multi-genre author. Her latest release is 2183, post-apocalyptic world that stops spinning. And I'm not going to talk any more about the book right now because I want to find out more about your book, Laurel. Welcome to
Well,
Conversations with Laurel.
welcome to Conversation with Laurel. Laurel. Well, thank you, Cam. I am delighted to be here on my show, being interviewed by somebody else. What a treat! What a treat! What a surprise! And it's funny, I'm feeling a little bit nervous.
Really? I don't think I've ever seen you nervous.
Well, you haven't seen it because I do a pretty good job, I think, of hiding it. I'm usually nervous before I do any interview with any person because, you want it to be good and you want to ask the right questions. And I don't know, there's always that sense of what's going to come next. What are the answers going to be? And what am I going to do with that? So there's some uncertainty when you're doing interviews. So there's always a little bit of nerves going there, but
Well, Laurel, if it's any comfort, I've never hosted a podcast before, so I could be more nervous than you are.
all right. All right. So what do you want to know about my book? My awesome book, which is out now. It came out on the 1st of November, and I have it out in Kindle and paperback and hardcover. It's the first time I've ever done hardcover, and the hardcover is beautiful. I don't have them yet because I just ordered them, and who knows how long it's going to take, maybe a couple of weeks before I actually get my copies. But yeah, it's out there.
Well, one of the things I want to know, I mean, I have read a lot of your work, and so I know for a fact that you write young adult, you write fantasy, you write horror, you write nonfiction about your experiences. You write self-help. I really enjoyed your book called Piece by Piece. You've published poetry. I want to know, where did this one come from? Is this sci-fi?
This has a sci-fi element. I'll have to call it soft sci-fi, right? I'm reading some really high, heavy. What do you call the real heavy sci-fi? I'm reading some of that, and boy, that's a challenge. I try to make my sci-fi not so much of a challenge, especially in the YA area. But this one came about, oh gosh, probably probably 6 years ago. My husband suggested, and we're both West Point graduates, and he reads my stuff too. And he said, you know what? You need to write a military romance. So, because he said, there aren't a lot of them out there. And so I thought,
Write what you know.
right, would you know? So I thought about it for a while, and I thought that this was going to be it. It's not it because my YA muses just took over, and so there's some romance in there, but it's not a military romance. Anyway, the other way it came about is I've had a lot of friends and people I've met who know that I went to West Point want me to write about West Point. And what are you going to write about your experiences there? And I've never really wanted to. There's some great books out there written by women who have graduated from West Point, and I felt like I didn't need to do that. But the president of the Central Colorado Writers Group, of which you are the vice president, I've got to tell everybody, and thank you for doing that, Linda Ditchkus, she suggested, why not set a military academy in the future? And of course, you know, I thought, now that would be fun. That would be really fun. And that way I'd be able to include my experiences, but kind of have it under the guise of something in the future. So it is kind of sci-fi. There's an undersea metropolis where this military academy sits, and so there's things that go along with that. You know, I had fun. It's not a military romance. Maybe someday I'll do that, but it's not on the table right now.
Oh, that's great. So I've read books about West Point in the past, but I can't name a single one besides yours that would deal with it in the future.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There you go. There you go. So it was fun to imagine. And again, it's not set in the way future. 2183 is the year. It happens to be 200 years after I graduated. My husband and I graduated from West Point. So it's not so far in the future that something post-apocalyptic would have given the people in that world tremendous advantages technologically. Um, so I also throw in the fantasy element of the our octopus pal there, and I do love octopuses.
I have to ask you, I I got the pleasure of an early read, and I thank you for that. And I want to know, I didn't ask you this question one-on-one before, and I want to know how much of this book, your main character is Ing, and she's 15 years old, but we come to a West Point 200 years, or West Point equivalent 200 years in the future. I don't know. How much of this book is 15-year-old Laurel, and how much of it is West Point cadet Laurel McHargue?
Oh, a lot of it is West Point cadet Laurel McHargue. I'll just say that you mentioned it before, right? What you know, and so yeah, there's stuff in there that happened. Some of my experiences. So I think you'll get a flavor of what it's like to be a young woman in a military academy. Actually, to be any young person at a military academy, because as you know, being an Air Force Academy graduate, I someone told me, uh, it's tough.
Thanks for clarifying. I thought you were going to say, as you know, and I'm not a young woman. So,
I think it's tough
well,
for anyone, really.
right. I've got memories from my experiences in the 80s at the Air Force Academy that I will never forget. And I enjoyed some of the memorization and the slang and the jargon that you used in your book was familiar. And I also have a son who's a 2021 West Point grad. So there's a scene in the book where someone asks how the milk is at the table.
How's the cow? How's the cow? Sir, she walks, she talks, she's full of chalk lacteal fluid extracted from the female of the bovine species is highly prolific to the nth degree, and being however many boxes of milk are left on the table. I could still remember some of the things I had to memorize, the definition of leather, which I turn into the definition of slicken in my book because that's a kind of a key thing that plays into my undersea metropolis. Yeah, I could still spout off some of those things, and don't ask me what I had for dinner last night.
Right, but you know, our listeners today, they listen to you spout off that thing that you memorized from years before, permanently ingrained, and they think, wow, Laurel, she must have been this perfect cadet that knew all the lines, knew everything she was supposed to memorize. But we find out in your book that maybe Ing is not such a perfect cadet, and is there any correlation between your experiences as a West Point cadet and Ing's as far as conformity?
Absolutely not. I was a perfect cadet. Perfect in
What's
every way. Well, I will say I never had to walk hours, with the rifle. I never
what's
I
an
let
hour?
huh?
What is an hour besides 60 minutes? It sounds like an hour
Oh,
at West Point has a different meaning.
walking if you have so many demerits, you get to walk. Basically, you're walking back and forth in this area in full dress uniform, carrying a weapon, and it's like a demerit.
Oh,
And yeah, there are people who had to walk many hours because they got caught doing things they weren't supposed to do.
oh,
So,
I don't
yeah.
know what the statute of limitations is, so I won't ask for only the details you're willing to share.
Well, I will say that I got kudos frequently for my shiny shoes. We had leather shoes and you had to shine them. And before I went to West Point, my dad, who was thrilled that one of his five girls was actually going to join the army, um, taught me how to spit shine shoes, and so I had you could see yourself in my shoes, so I knew
Now,
how to do that.
there's a problem that I never had at the Air Force Academy was overshined shoes.
No.
No.
I mean, it helped. The little things that you had to do to not get in trouble, to not, and again, as a woman there in the academy, I never wanted to stand out. I never wanted to draw attention to me because we got enough as it was. So, you just made sure that you had the shine shoes. You made sure that you had the dress off where, there's a scene in there where she pulls the shirt back and tucks it back and says, don't move, keep it tucked into your pants kind of thing. Those types of things. You didn't want to give upper class people any reason to haze you. Didn't always
So,
work.
so do you think that people need to have a background in the military to understand your book, or I
I
don't
don't
think
think so.
so.
Oh, I don't think so. I mean, we're both military people. I really don't think so. No. Um, I think everything's pretty well spelled out.
I do too. It's got a great tempo, great tension. It's a great book. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Talk to me about you probably didn't have to do that much research for the West Point equivalent, but how about the Earth when it stops spinning?
Oh, yeah. So, and again, I started this about 6 years ago. I started with the ideas and, how do you make something post-apocalyptic that hasn't been done before? And maybe the Earth stopping spinning. I think it has been done since I started doing this, or maybe before. But I did have to do some research then, and we didn't have Chat GPT 6 years ago. So I remember talking with a guy at a book event, and he was into science and undersea things and all that. And I spoke to him, and then I did research online, the Google, the you Googlies. I Googled a bunch of stuff. And basically, what I found out was, and I don't know if it's true or not because it's never happened, but if the Earth stops spinning, basically the atmosphere around it will continue. The atmosphere doesn't stop. And so all the water on the planet would get thrown to the poles of the planet. And of course, creating enormous devastation. Now, in my novel, the reason that there's an undersea metropolis is because scientists and the great minds at the time, they knew that this was coming. They knew that there was going to be an interstellar impact that was most probably going to do something like that. And so they prepared for it, which is why the undersea metropolis exists. So that's kind of what I found out. And I'm like, you know what? Who knows? And it's fantasy, it's science fiction. You can kind of play with the ideas and just make it so. So
I've
that's what I did.
I've read plenty of novels where I had to suspend my disbelief, but in
Yeah.
yours, I didn't know enough about physics and astronomy and anything. I didn't have to suspend anything because I just flat out didn't know what would happen. So if you said in your book, as you did, that oh, this is what Earth is like, I had no problems believing it. You did a great job with that.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. And of course there are some survivors who didn't want to, go along with the plan of going into this metropolis. Um, and Ing, the main character, is in the village of survivors, maybe about 1,000 people. And these are people who went up in high places, and the original survivors, dug into mountains and were able to survive. But they're surviving with nothing nothing that they had before, nothing pre-halt. It was called the halt when the planet stopped spinning. So, and I've got to talk about Ing because naming conventions. I think you kind of have fun with yours, right? And I have read your whole Tyler Zan series. I really have fun with names. And my initial story, my main character was named Nora because I love the name Nora. It's lovely. It just seemed to fit. And then I interviewed this woman, Ingrid Hudal. I interviewed her a little bit ago. She wrote a novel. She's a beautiful woman. And she told me that well, in the book, it comes up that her brother calls her Ing as a nickname. And I thought, oh, what a great what a great name. It's such an action name, right? Doing, being, loving,
Right.
fleeing, whatever, ing. So I changed the name of my main character to Ing, and that was just fun.
I
So
like
thank
it.
you, Ingrid, if you're watching this.
So I mentioned earlier about being a multi-genre author, and I talked just briefly mentioned some of the different genres you've written. Is there a link between these genres that allows you to be able to do it, or do you just dive down different rabbit holes every time you switch to a new genre? What's the multi-genre? What's behind it? Is it how you write and it fits into these, or do you purposely try out new genres?
I, good question. I guess my answer would be I purposely try. My answer would be both of what you just said, but uh, one of my goals, I love challenges. All right. I mean, obviously, I love challenges. I left a cushy year and a half at Smith College to go to West Point. So yeah. Um, and so I I feel like challenges help you grow, whether it's physical challenges, mental challenges, emotional, whatever. They make you learn more about yourself.
Right.
And with writing, I love reading in all genres. So the idea of just sticking to one genre, and early on when I wrote my first novel, Miss, which is based on my first year of teaching seventh grade English language arts in a school that closed, um, I was told you ought to stick with middle grade. You're a teacher, you ought to stick with that type of book and writing, for marketing your brand. And I railed against that. Don't tell me I have to do something,
Right.
which, I mean, in the army, you do, and you do what you have to do. But when you're not in the army, you don't have to. So I just decided I want to challenge myself in as many genres as I can, because I think that helps you become a better writer. So yeah, I look for different challenges.
Wow. I admire you. My writing has all been, centered around a single genre, and I've put some thought. I've got some other projects that I would like to do, but I've also found it very difficult to, once I've found a comfort zone, which I'm working on now, to branch out and do those other things. I find myself continuing to put them off, and so I admire you for moving from genre to genre so decisively.
It's a choice, right? It is a decision. This year, since I was going into, more than 5 years of working on this novel, I decided I was not going to do any other contest. I was not going to have any distractions. Um, I really enjoyed doing the NYCMidnight.com short story flash fiction challenges, and there'll be a link below to that. Um, and those challenges helped me to write in different genres because, basically the way it works is at midnight on a Friday night, New York time, so 10 p.m. here, you would be given a genre, and you wouldn't have a choice, a genre, maybe a character, maybe a place, maybe a thing that you had to have in it. You'd be given three elements, and you'd have anywhere from 48 hours to a week, depending on the length of the story, to create a story. And then you submit it, and you get feedback, both this is what we like, this is what we think needs work, and maybe you make it to the next round and you continue doing this. So I did that for a couple of years, and I was able to publish my two Dark Ebb Grim Tales books. Those were fun. And so I haven't done any this year except for this past weekend when they had a short scary story, a 400-word scary story challenge. And so since this was already published, I decided I was going to sign up for it last minute, and I did it. And I wrote a truly creepy story. I don't know why my short story muse is so dark, but it is. And I just have to let that muse have her way with me once in a while.
I've read some of your horror, both the Dark Ebb books that you wrote, and I will say that as dark as they are, um, it's hard to find a story in there that doesn't have humor included. It might be dark humor, but you are a funny person.
Hey, looks aren't everything. Oh no, those
The
are those are fun.
yeah, and and for your novels, I would say humor is a thread that I've observed that ties through your novels, but also strong female characters. I think maybe Water White, you had a strong female character, but she evolved into becoming stronger as the story progressed. But I don't know. Have you written any stories where the protagonist was male?
Well, let's see. I've got my naughty novella, The Hare Raising Truth,
I haven't read that.
Hare. Did you read that one?
I have not read that one.
Oh, The Hare Raising Truth. That was a 3-day novel contest. So that was a challenge. And in it, it's all about a high school boy, and he finds a rabbit's foot, and he wants to get lucky with the new girl in school. And I've had people ask me, how were you able to get into the head of a teenage boy so well? And of course, my first response was, really? Really? It's not that difficult. But yeah, that was a male protagonist. I guess you could call him a protagonist or an anti-protagonist. I don't know. That was really fun. That was a fun challenge. But let's see. No, I haven't really done that. I mean, some of my really short stories have males as the main characters. Huh, there's a challenge for me.
Well, I can tell you that when you said people asked you how to get in the head of a teenage boy, I would be one of those people asking that question. For my first novel, I was alternating points of view between chapters, and one of my points of view was an 11-year-old girl, and I will never ever write another point of view from a young woman again because it was difficult for me. I found that to be a challenge. My saving grace was the fact that I have two daughters that
Yeah.
read through and helped me stumble my way towards publication.
Yeah, I don't, people who say that you cannot write from the point of view of someone you're not, pff, yeah, no, don't listen to that. You do your research and you do the best you can, and you have beta readers. You have people read, as you said, your daughters, making sure that things are credible, and you go with it. I mean, come on, what would we write if we had to? Wouldn't everything be so boring if we only wrote what we knew?
Exactly, I completely agree. My first draft of my first novel, the same one that I was whining about, I sent it out to my buddy, and I was thinking, oh, this is a write what you know, because I had a retired military guy in there, and he's doing search and rescue, and then I have some bad guys and a sidekick. My friend reads it and he goes, well, that's not such a bad start if you're interested in reading a story about three white guys in the mountains. And and he goes, that's what you know. And he was absolutely right. And it was a perfect argument for putting yourself uh, into another character's head and writing different perspectives.
Absolutely,
So I
yes.
agree with you.
And it's
Yeah.
a challenge. It's a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you grew up on the East Coast, is that correct?
Yes, Braintree, Massachusetts, home of Sylvanus Thayer, who happens to be the father of the United States Military Academy. Not that that meant anything while I was growing up. I knew nothing about West Point growing up.
So yeah, I mean you were destined to go to West Point.
I think so. I think I was. Yeah.
So when did you move out west?
We moved out here in 2003 after Mike retired. My husband retired from the Army after 20 years. I did 9 years active duty and then 3 in the reserves, and then I stopped military altogether to raise our sons, which was great. It was the hardest transition of my life, really. I've written about that. But the best. I feel like I've had the best of both worlds. Anyway, 2003, we were in the DC area, and Mike was sent to Peterson Air Force Base he jumped into a tech job. They sent him out to Colorado Springs, and he called me and said something like, don't want to scare you or anything, but really, really beautiful out here. And he used another word other than really, but um, and so that night in my head, we had lived in DC area for 6 years. That night in my head, I'm packing up the house. And so the next morning when he called and said, you know, I wouldn't make you leave your friends. I said, let's go. Yeah. And uh, the rest is history. We packed up the house within a month, moved out to Colorado Springs. We're there for 4 years. Then we moved to Leadville for 12 years, which was maybe 10 years too long. But I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that. Leadville is an amazing place to live. It's a funky place to live. It's where I got my start writing, really, After I taught there for a while, I'm like, I have to stop teaching so I can write up all these ideas are in my head and they need to come out. So 12 years in Leadville. Now we're down in Salida. We've been here a little over 6 years. So Colorado is it, boy. I will not move back to Braintree, Massachusetts.
Well, I can understand your rationale. So I went to college here at the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, and always thought that I would come back, even though I'm from Washington State. And now we've been here going on 7 years, longest period of time we've ever lived somewhere. And I would have a hard time leaving as well. I wanted to ask whether the starting writing after you got out here, was that inspired by where you were at age-wise in your life? Was it inspired by the move to Colorado, or was it inspired by something else?
Actually, it was inspired. This is kind of funny. It was inspired by a visit back home to my parents, who are no longer with us, but I was visiting my parents, and my mom said, I have to show you something. So I went upstairs with her, and she took a shoebox out of the closet. And I thought, oh, she's going to show me some new shoes that she got at at Marshall's, and she's going to tell me about the sale that she got because my mother was a catch and release shopper. She was a bargain shopper, big time, and so she would always be very happy with telling us that what started as $200 and marked down and marked down and marked down, and I got it for whatever. Anyway, I expected a pair of shoes. What was in the shoebox were letters that my dad had written home during World War II to his parents before he even knew my mom, to his parents and his sister and brother. And I looked at this box of letters and I brought it downstairs, asked Dad if I could pull one out and read it. And he said, sure. So I pulled one out and I started reading it. And he just lit up and started talking to me about things. And at that point, I knew I had to do something with those letters. Now, what have I done with those
Ah,
letters? I transcribed them all. So this was gosh, back before this was probably 2010, I would say. Transcribed them all. We were still living in Leadville at the time. And I thought maybe I would do a book called something like V-mail to email because his letters were V-mail, victory mail, which I didn't know was a
okay.
thing. They're amazing. V-mail to email, something about the evolution of eloquence. So I actually started working on that and eventually kind of lost the I don't know. I lost interest in it in a bit. I wasn't sure where I was going with it. And then I found out about National Novel Writing Month, and a friend of mine challenged me to do that. And basically, it's a challenge where you write 50,000 words in the 30 days of November. And at that point, I thought, whoa, what could I do in 30 days? And I remember that I had kept notes of my first year teaching in that school that closed. Every night I would come home and I would do bullet points about everything that happened. Um, a lot of stunning things. I mean, those seventh grade kids needed a lot more than learning where a period goes at the end of a sentence. So I had a year's worth of notes of being a teacher that year, and I decided, oh, maybe I'll do that. I will fictionalize me as a young teacher and use stuff that actually happened and throw in some romance and use my dad as the old colonel next door
Right.
for the main character. So that was actually my first novel. So now I still have the letters. I still have them transcribed. That might be the next thing I work on years later. But I think I would probably put it into something like a memoir because, everyone wants to read memoirs and I
Yeah.
really want to make money. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to write my memoir with using
You'd
using my
be,
dad's using my dad's letters maybe as a thread that goes through them and
you'd be
something like
writing
that.
it for yourself and writing it for him. That sounds like a part, it could be a mighty pen project, but you and I have both had the opportunity to take part in a veterans writing workshop out
Yes.
based out of Virginia.
Yes.
And that sounds like material that might work there for chapters.
It might. The Mighty Pen Project. Thank you, David Robbins, for doing that, a free creative writing course for veterans. I wrote my transitional piece during that thing. My transition from the army, from going from being a captain in the army, able to make lots of big decisions, to being just a stay-at-home mom. And I wrote that, and he helped me format that. He actually read 2183. This is a proof copy. He actually read this and had like a half an hour conversation with me, questioning a couple of my decisions in there,
Uh,
which ended up making me do a huge edit. So between David Robbins, my cousin Mary, and Linda Ditchkiss, who for both my original and my what I thought was the final version of my novel, provided pages of suggestions. Between those, I did a major edit. I probably edited this novel 6, 7 times for different things. And
yeah,
I
great
think the I
results.
think I think the final result is the best I've ever done. So I'm
Yeah.
happy with it. Yeah.
Oh, you should be. You should be. I'm so excited for you that you got it out there and such an eye-catching cover. Can you talk about the cover?
Yes. So our youngest son has a friend who was the camp host of Angel of Chavano campground out here in Salida for the
Hmm.
summer, and we met her, and we found out that she was a former Marine Corps Staff Sergeant artist for the Marine Corps. Her name is Elise McKelvey, and when she found out that I didn't have a cover design yet for my novel that I was still working on, uh, I asked if she might be interested in doing it, and she was so excited about it. And holy mackerel! I mean, she's a phenomenal artist, absolutely phenomenal artist. I think the Marine Corps Museum on the East Coast has commissioned several pieces
Really?
from her. She's Inkstick Art .com, I think it's .com. Inkstick Art is uh, her handle. Whatever, you should follow
Right?
her wherever. She's just incredibly talented.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, she
yeah.
did a fantastic job. I
Yeah.
mean, especially the colors, it
Oh,
just
yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
And again, she read a very early version of my novel, like very early, and came up with, she gave me probably 6 different ideas of a cover design, and this one was the most stunning. So, yeah. She's on Instagram. Follow her, Inkstick Art. She 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 posts pretty much every day what she's working on. She's working on her MFA right now. So, hi,
Oh,
Elise.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I love this cover.
We'll have to
I'll have a
post
link.
that in the show
Yes.
notes.
Yes.
That and the Mighty Pen Project too for other
Yes.
veterans that we might have
Yes. Yes.
listening to us. Which reminds me, besides thanking you for your service, I want to wish you an early Happy Veterans Day.
Well, thank you very much. And to you as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. One of the things you say, I don't know whether it's on your website or your newsletter or your podcast, but you talk about writing stories real and imagined.
Imagined.
And you've talked to us a little bit. You said there was some imagined and miss when you put that together, or was that all that was
Yep.
fiction?
There's some
Right.
imagined because again, I published that in 2013,
Right.
and I was not a cute, spunky young teacher, single, and um, yeah, there was no romance uh, back then in the school where
Right.
I taught. So basically, what's real in there is the things that happened with the students and the situations that happened. Um, yeah, and then when you fictionalize, and it's funny because I did actually have someone in one of the reviews say, why didn't you write this as a memoir?
Right.
And it was a good question. It's a really good question. And I could have, but I don't think I was ready to write a memoir at that time. So, and it was more fun to fictionalize some things.
I've got a question about you on this real and imagined. So what tell me something real that's happened to you that most people wouldn't believe could
Oh,
have
that
possibly happened.
possibly happened. Um, well, I've jumped out of airplanes. Had to do
What?
that. Had to do that 5 times. While I was a cadet at West Point. Yeah, 5 times. Um, the night jump was bad. I smacked my head on a rock and broke all the straps in my helmet and
You jumped out of an
sucked.
airplane at night 5 times and what five
There was
times and
on
one of them
there,
was at night?
there was only one night jump, and the rest of them were during the day. But yeah, the night jump was not a good one, but it didn't affect me at all, hitting my head and cracking my neck. Let's see, I joined the judo team senior year, first year at West Point to get to know my husband better. He wasn't my husband at the time; we were just dating, but he was on the judo team, and I fell for him. Huh. Let's see. I've driven tanks at Fort Knox. Um,
What? Did you
I've
say you've driven tanks?
Yeah, at Fort Knox, they have you drive tanks. I mean, it's the second summer at West Point. They introduce you to all the different branches, maybe not all of them, but a lot of the different branches. And so they take you places, and you go and you do things, and you do recondo, and you're stumbling around in the middle of the night trying to find points and trying not to fall off cliffs and doing all kinds of stuff like that. Doing some hard stuff back in the day, back when I was.
Next thing you're going to be telling me you've flown a helicopter.
Well, I have actually a little bit, just a little bit. And again, this was when I was a cadet. I was a third lieutenant. It was the cadet troop leading training, and I was at Fort Bliss. And our mission, it was a transportation company, and I was in the transportation corps. Our mission was to move this whole Air Force unit from Fort Bliss to the East Coast. And yeah, while the generals were having a meeting, the general's Huey pilot asked if I wanted to go take a little spin. So of course I said yes. And while we were up in the air, he handed told me to take the stick, and I did. And it was thrilling and exciting and scary. And he let me hover it. He didn't let me land it, but he let me hover it, which he said I was a natural. So yeah, that was
Holy
kind of fun.
smoke. So you should write a memoir. This sounds like
Yeah,
exciting stuff.
exciting stuff. But it was a long, long time ago. I was a different person then. I was way younger, way more nimble.
Right, you're a different person who happens to remember it so well that you fictionalized it into an underwater West Point in your latest novel.
Yeah, yeah. And I called it the United Survivors Military Academy, USMA.
I
Um,
like it.
so that was kind of fun. Yeah.
They have a little book that in your story that I think was something they had at West Point. Is that right?
Yes, yeah, it's called Bugle Notes, which I still have. It's upstairs somewhere. It's about this big, and it's silver, and it has bugle notes stamped on the cover, and it has all the stuff that you have to memorize in it, all the ridiculous stuff, how many lights are in Column Hall, uh, duty on our country, speeches from different people, all the different ranks, history of West Point. It has a bunch of stuff in it. So as a plebe, a freshman at the military academy, you had to memorize a ton of stuff and be able to spout it off whenever an upperclassman would stop you and ask. So
I,
lot of spec and dump, right? You memorize it, you get it in your head, and then you're able to just spit it off without even thinking about it.
oh,
Crazy
I
stuff.
hear you. We had something similar. The Air Force Academy wasn't founded until like 1940, 49, or it was over 100 years after West Point. So I think we borrowed a lot of traditions. And our little book was called Contrails, and it was the
Yeah,
same thing.
same idea.
any other upperclassman could ask you anything out of that book, and you were expected to know it.
Yeah, yeah. You know what's funny about the Air Force Academy?
What?
The first time I ever went to Colorado was junior year at West Point. They flew out a bunch of us for the Army Air Force game.
Hmm.
And I remember looking at, it was the first time ever in Colorado. I remember looking at the academy and the grounds and the chapel, which is so stunning, and thinking to myself, ooh, what a cold, stark place. I would never want to live here.
Well, we just hosted Army for a football game last weekend. I took my family and my Army son, and Army beat us on a sunny afternoon. So
Only by 3 points. Did you all sit together, or did he sit with the Army and you sit with the Air
we
Force?
all sat together, and I have to tell you that I was talking to my son. You know, the Air Force always has this insecure inferiority
Inferiority
complex. Thank
complex.
you about the Army, and
Insecurity.
I said something to him about, oh, counting the days until the Air Force came because I heard you guys saying beat Navy, and I go, you guys don't think much of us, do you? And he said, the Air Force? He goes, we don't think about you at all. It's all about beating Navy.
Oh, that's true. That is true. I like your word insecurity, though. I think I like that. That's a
I told you I was nervous, and now I've
a
got to
new
do
a,
multi-syllable
a
words.
new word,
I'm a
insecurity.
transport pilot. Keep it simple.
I love it. I love it. Oh gosh.
One of your books that you wrote was about hunting with your husband.
Oh.
Who's the better shot?
Oh, well, let's see. Right now it would have to be him. Um, there were times back when we've done some contests, some shooting contests, and I'm a really good shot. But I would have to say he trains all the time. But yeah, hunt for red meat, love stories in parentheses. Basically, I for 3 years we had gone out hunting and I grew up in the suburbs. I grew up in, sunbeam bred suburbs of Boston. We had 5 girls in my family. We never did anything. I mean, we didn't. I was never in Girl Scouts. We never went hiking. I didn't go skiing. I mean, They couldn't afford to take all of us to go do adventures like that, which is probably why I ended up joining the army. Um, but yeah, I had never hunted. And so, for 3 years we went out slogging. And of course, you know, my husband is a mountain goat. He's got mountain goat blood in him, I'm sure. And his idea of fun is, going out in miles, straight up hills, going as deep in the forest as you possibly can, because that's where you're gonna, find something to, you know, harvest, which we never did. But the book is about my those experiences, and it was really fun. And I suffered a lot, but you know, you can choose your suffering. You can choose to have fun with it. You can choose to end up writing something creative about it, which I ended up doing. So
Right.
I captured each of those experiences of being out in the wild and in the incredible beauty that is Colorado, going out before the sun comes up and watching it come up and, going home, as the sun's setting and it's dusk and you're picking your way through the forest. And I'm marveling at how my husband can find his way out of wherever we are.
That
Yeah.
was your first military romance.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
I've got two more questions for you,
Okay.
and you can segue into the second one when you want, or I'll ask you again. But I really want to know, and I'm sure that our listeners will be interested. I want to know what you're reading lately, and I want to know what's next in the writing field for you.
All right. Well, what I'm reading, I have, do audiobooks count?
Oh yes,
Okay, good.
in my book, quote book, audio counts as reading.
Good because when I'm walking, when I'm gardening, when I'm doing house stuff, I listen to books, and it's a great way to consume literature. It's fabulous. I have 1 hour left of Cormac McCarthy's All the Pretty Horses. Oh my gosh! And if you're not familiar with Cormac McCarthy, let me just say, David Robbins would probably hate this
Right.
because his writing style is he doesn't use a lot of punctuation. There are probably a million ands in this book. This and this and this and this. It is literary fiction and it is gorgeous. I am amazed that he is able to present mundane tasks, the main character doing basic things, but he makes it sound so luscious and beautiful and important. It's a stunning book. Let's see. Of course, I've read all of yours. And well, not your. Oh yeah, I have read the last one, Havoc. So
Yeah.
your the whole
Thank
Tyler
you.
Zahn series. I read a lot of the books that the people in the Central Colorado Writers Group have written. I'm starting to get a lot of books from people who would like an interview on my show. So I read those too. I just got this one, Vitalarium, and I haven't read it yet, but that's a big one. And this one
Wow.
I think is a high science fiction book.
Okay.
So I do a lot of that. Andy Weir's Project Hail Mary, which, oh, talk about, uh, I loved it. The science fiction in it was very believable. And the alien, let's just say, no spoilers,
Right.
but it's just
I
so
love that book.
incredible, just incredible. Um, let's see. James, have you listened to James or read James
I
Percival?
have. I
Percival,
have.
Percival Everett James. Beautiful, beautiful book.
I found out
Um,
that when I read that book, I realized that I had never really read Huck Finn.
Huck Finn. Oh gosh. Oh man. I mean, I think I was not even a teenager yet when I read that. I was probably really young when I first read that. So to hear the story of Huck Finn from, um, the slave Jim,
Yeah.
from his perspective was incredible. Of course, Neil Gaiman stuff. I love his. Have you read the Graveyard Book? Love the Graveyard Book.
Yep. I've read the Graveyard
Oh,
Book and I just finished
Coraline.
Coraline.
Coraline, yeah.
Coraline.
Actually, one reviewer of Water White, my Water White book, made a reference to Coraline,
Really?
um, w- because I've got a very mysterious sandcastle where the main character's parents are there, but they're not really her parents. So, yeah, I read a lot of different types of books. Peter Heller's Burn, which is really good. Uh, let's see, Ghost Soldiers by Hampton Sides. I won't give you a whole list, but right now I'm
Have
finishing
you
up All the Pretty Horses. And
have you
oof,
ever read anything by Dennis Lehane? I ask because he's from
no,
Boston.
no, Dennis Lehane. Let me write that down. Dennis Lehane. What does he write?
He writes gritty Boston noir.
Oh, okay.
So he wrote uh, Shutter Island and Mystic River, a
Oh, okay.
couple that
That's
have been turned into movies. But it
okay.
might get you reminiscing about home.
All right. In a good way.
So,
Good
well, I
to
don't know about that.
hear. Not sure about that. And what I'm working on now, I think I'm going to break out those letters and break out what I've already done. I wrote several chapters years ago, many years ago, and I think I'm ready to get back into that. Nonfiction, my nonfiction roots, and get back into the NYC Midnight contests because they're just fun. And there's something about writing a short story and a micro short story. I mean, I think the next one coming up is 250 words. So having, when you think of writing a novel, right, and how long it takes and what's required to do a good job, it's in some ways. it's intimidating, right? I mean,
Right. Daunting, yes.
it is. It's a huge task. But doing little things that you can say, "Oh, I have 24 hours to finish this," or 48 hours, and you complete something, and whether it's good or bad, you've done it, and it's finished, and it's off. So I'll keep doing those because those
Yeah.
are really fun.
Is that flash fiction?
Yes. Yeah. Flash fiction to short story level. I think the biggest, the longest ones that they do are like 250 word stories, like short story. They also do screenwriting challenges, um, rhyming story challenges. Go on their website. They have
Yeah.
challenges all throughout the year, and there's a fee to participate in them, anywhere from like
Mhm.
29 to maybe $49. And you get feedback from three different independent people, and they tell you what they liked about your
That's,
work and what they
that's
think.
great. You'll have to
Yeah,
add that website to
I
the
will do
show
that.
notes
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
our writers or authors that are listening.
Yeah. It's fun.
Well,
Again, got to stretch yourself. You gotta read a lot. And as the senior level winner of the Central Colorado Writers Youth Writing Contest this year, when I asked her, Grace Bunch, what suggestions she had for people who want to improve their writing or are writing, what recommendation would she have? And she said,
yeah,
read everything, read out of your comfort zone. You're writing in your comfort zone, and your books are great, and everyone gets better, and I love the characters, and I feel like I know them all now, which is wonderful. But I'll challenge you, Cam Torrens, to get out of your comfort zone. Maybe try one of these contests.
okay, I will check it out. Oh, Laurel, every time I talk to you, I always end up laughing and having a great time. So it was a real honor for me to be able to talk to you today on your podcast about your new release, 2183. So I know that all of our listeners are going to be interested in getting that book. So make sure and leave some links to where they can get the kind of version that they want down in the show notes. And gosh, I just want to thank you for your time and thank you for the opportunity to put me outside of my comfort zone on this side of the mic.
Well, you know what, Cam? You did a great job. And when you're ready to do your own podcast, I'll give you a hand. I'll let you interview me again on something else.
That sounds great.
All right. All righty. Take
All
care,
right,
everybody.
Laurel.
Don't forget to subscribe, like and subscribe. And we'll see you next time when I'll probably be your host again, and I'll interview another fascinating person.
Bye
Thanks,
bye,
Cam. All
everybody.
right. See you around. Bye-bye.